Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to answer the question, have we hit the bottom of the real estate market here in Vancouver? Real quick before we get started, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hassan. I'm a real estate agent in Vancouver, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. I also make content to help you make your own move in and around Vancouver. So if that sounds interesting to you, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video, and you can reach out to me in the Calendly link below if you want to talk about your own personal real estate situation. All right, so we're sitting here at the end of January, and one of the big talks that we're starting to see in the media and amongst others within the community of real estate is, have we hit the market bottom for real estate prices? In order to get to the answer to this question, I have a lot to cover, but we're going to start with interest rates. I'm going to talk about where we're at today and where we expect them to go. Last week, the Bank of Canada raised the rates 25 basis points essentially. But they also announced at the same time that they're likely now to take a wait and see approach. One of the things we have to really think about when it comes to the Bank of Canada and their messaging is they are treading very lightly in the sense that they can't give the consumers too much confidence right now, because the last thing they want people to do is to go out, have confidence, and spend money. They're in a very tough spot because they need to give truthful and factual advice, i.e. we're going to take a wait and see approach. But they also said that, hey, we're not saying we're not going to raise rates further, so don't get ahead of yourselves. But I believe very strongly that they would like to do everything in their power to not have to raise rates any further. There's a lot of political pressure on them to not do so, not to mention everyday Canadians, which I don't think they factor in, unfortunately, but there's a lot of pressure on them to maintain rates where they are. They obviously took a very aggressive approach last year to raising rates, so I'm expecting it's going to be wait and see. Rates probably staying the same throughout the year. There are some people out there that are even suggesting by the end of the year we may see a very small rate drop, but of course that depends where the economy goes from here. So the reason I bring up interest rates is interest rates are the biggest driver of real estate prices. When interest rates go up, buying power goes down, demand goes down, prices go down. And that's historical. If you look at all the data, it's the key driver. Now that we're in a state of constancy, people are believing that things are going to stay the same for some time. What I'm noticing in my business now is I'm fielding so many more calls from first-time buyers, from investors asking whether we have hit the bottom yet, restarting up their property searches. And so I'm sensing some confidence in the market. And to me, this is a signal that demand is going to start increasing as we move forward. And typically that will push prices upwards. So the confidence is back, or it's starting to come back amongst consumers, but that doesn't change the fact that borrowing power is much less today than it was a year ago. But I think what some people don't realize is that just because people can only borrow a certain amount of money, or they can borrow less than they could have before, that doesn't mean that everyone decides to stay in the rental market. And the rental market is something we're going to talk about because that directly leads into real estate prices as well. A lot of these people that are either in the rental market or considering it, rather than stay in the rental market, they are now looking at downgrading their expectations of what they're going to purchase. So the young family that's looking at a 5 to 10 year place, perhaps they were looking at a 3-bedroom townhome, they are now shifting their focus to something less because they can't get approved for more money. So they're looking at maybe a 2-bedroom and den. The 2-bedroom and den condo folks, they're looking at 1-bedroom and den, essentially looking at properties that can suit their needs for a shorter period of time, 3 to 5 years. So what happens is there's a trickle-down effect in real estate. And what I'm seeing in the market now is, as people shift downwards their expectations and what they're able to buy, it's putting a lot of pressure on that entry-level condo. Condo in East Van the other day, 50 showings over the weekend, 5 offers. Burnaby condo 2 weeks ago, 11 offers, sold for $1,100 a square foot, which is very close to peak pricing of February, March last year. So we're seeing that entry-level condo really holding tight when it comes from a value perspective, and we're seeing a lot of buyers actually flocking to that product, not just people that don't own real estate right now, but other types of downsizers as well. So I personally believe that the floor of real estate, that entry-level condo, it's not coming down any further, and I expect the price of those to continue to increase. So I mentioned we're going to talk about the rental market. Here's what you need to know about the rental market in Vancouver. The stats just came out, and essentially our vacancy rate is so ridiculously low. It's at 0.9%. The rental market is actually much more competitive now than the real estate resale market. So a couple things happen in terms of how it affects prices. Number one, it brings more investors to the equation because they're having renewed confidence in investment type properties, rental type investments. But the other thing that sort of hot and heavy rental market does is it gets tenants thinking about whether now's the time to make a first time buy, take their step into home ownership. Look, if you've been renting a place and say you've been in there for 4 or 5 years, and it's a one bedroom, say you're spending $1,500 a month. If that property sells and you're not on a term lease, God forbid this happens, you could see that rental payment go up, 50%. It could go up to $2,500 per month. So a sizable increase to your monthly expense. I think people are now being more open to investigating home ownership. Now, the thing we have to consider as we head into a spring market is we are likely to see more inventory. And this is the X factor in terms of have we hit the floor of real estate prices or not. So seasonally, spring typically always brings more inventory, but also we're going to start to see some of the effects of the interest rate increases. Variable rate holders who have hit trigger, are on adjustable rates, so they've seen their payments go up. People that are having to renew their mortgages right now. All of it enters into a situation where the costs go up, and this is likely going to put more units onto the market. Are some of these folks going to sell and perhaps downsize? Again, it's not as simple as selling and going to rent because the rental market is more competitive. So people are going to do everything in their power to remain in the home ownership group. They might start looking at properties that are smaller, downsizing, shifting areas. So this is something we can look for is added inventory. My personal opinion is that the added inventory is going to get eaten up pretty quick, just based on how much good inventory is out there and also based on immigration. So here's what you need to know from an immigration standpoint, and I think this is really gonna put a lot of pressure on the housing market, is from 2010 and beyond, BC was averaging about 38 to 44,000 international immigrants coming to BC in a year. And what happened was COVID hit, the numbers came down, and immediately after that, 2021, we welcomed 80,000 newcomers. In 2022, in Q3 alone, we welcomed 50,000. So immigration is going to be a huge factor in terms of having enough housing for everyone and increasing the demand. Look, I think what probably happened was the government really opened up the gates because of COVID. They were worried that that the economy was going to constrict. And in doing so, rates came down, but they also opened up the gates because one way to ensure the economy keeps chugging along and people keep spending is to add to the amount of people, right? So if people spend less, but you bring in more people, you're making sure the economy keeps going. And now here we are with lofty immigration targets. In fact, they're actually incentivizing immigrants who are coming to the Vancouver area to not settle in Metro Vancouver by offering them more points towards their permanent residency if they choose other areas. Now they would do that, but the employment is not there for them. So in a long roundabout way, immigration is going to be at levels we haven't seen before, and that's why I think when we look back historically and people suggest that things are going to be this way or they're going to be that way, immigration is the X factor that we cannot factor in from past data. So in terms of answering the broad question, have we hit the bottom of the Vancouver real estate market? An article just came out recently by an economist at RBC. He's suggesting that we are close to the cyclical bottom of this real estate market. And if you think about it, we're down in some areas and some product types over 30% since February, March of last year. I kind of laugh sometimes when people say, is the market going to crash? Is the market going to crash? Because we have crashed. And now we're at a point where, again, rates are constant. Consumer confidence is coming back to the table. I think we're going to see more purchases and more people moving back into the market. They're feeling a little better about things. Headlines are starting to become more neutral versus negative. So in my own opinion, yes, I think we have hit the bottom. Again, at the top level, there'll probably still be some downward pressure, but I just cannot see the floor in that entry-level condo. I cannot see it not increase in value. So guys, I hope you learned something in this video. If you did, hit the subscribe button. I put out videos 1 to 2 times a week, again, to help you with real estate content. If you're in the Vancouver area and you're looking at some specific advice for your situation, reach out to me below. You can send me an email or you can book me in the Calendly link. But I want to thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.